Hello everyone, good afternoon. In this first presentation of season 1 from the paper number 101 literature of the English Elizabethan and Restoration period, I choose the topic The Collar Unbroken, a poem named The Collar by George Herbert. This is my personal information. And now let's take a look about the poet of this poem, George Herbert. Love is that liquor sweet and most divine, which my God fills as blood, but I as a wine. This two line describe his whole life in this two line that what he feels and think about God. George Herbert was born in the 1593 and died in 1633. He was an English religious poet, metaphysical poet, orator, and priest of the church in England. Here are his notable works. Now, see about the poem, The Collar. I raved and grew more fierce and wild at every word. Me thought I heard once calling child, and I replied, my lord. This is the last line of this poem, The Collar, which includes the whole central idea of this poem. Written by George Herbert, published in 1633. The Collar, published in the collection of the poem titled With the Temple. This is a rhyme scheme of this poem, and this collar symbolize the inner taboo of our human mind and written in 36 lines. Now, this poem is divided into four sections of argument. The first one is complaint under the influence of the heart. It means the poet of this poem in first section argues and complains to the God that I don't want to live life as I'm used to live and I was living. I want to live my life now as I want. He complained to the God that I have no happiness. Even if I'm following you, I don't have any enjoyment, anything. Now I am going to live my life as my heart says to me and questions that is there any fruit in my life or not. In the second section, there is a fruit if heart says it. In this second section, he replied his own question that yes, there is a fruit in our life, and it doesn't matter that God gave us and we catch it. No, we can make I can make this fruit by my own self, and I can enjoy it uh, anytime I want to enjoy. And the third section, her repeat its complaint. In the third section, here poet again complain about his enjoyment of life, that I don't have anything for enjoyment because I am not able to enjoy. I don't know why. And he says the again this complaint to the God and tells that now I don't have any fear in my life. If you want to kill me, you can kill me now. I am not fearful from you. In this last section and fourth section, the acceptance of the God's will. This line, I previously said that the last line of this poem, that when he is very aggressively and borderly complain to the God that I don't want to follow you and that thing. He heard a voice called my child, and he feels very calm at that moment and said yes, my lord. And this word of this a poem reflects that what God want to do with him. He accept this God's will, that yes, it doesn't matter how he talk about and complain about his life, but he is in the end God's child. So, what Herbert described his poem and what he thought about his poem, that it doesn't matter how many complex pass between God and his soul, he always do what Jesus will. And if he find his freedom in under the Jesus service, that if he service the Jesus and do what he say Jesus to do him, he always find his freedom and enjoyment under him. In the whole poem, there is not a single reference of this word collar. Indirectly, the poet informs us that he is a priest. By the collar, he means the clothes of the priest, which includes white collar. But was he actually able to break this collar as he described in his poem? In his poem, he says that I don't want to follow God, and in the last, he followed the God. In the end, he finds pleasure under the God's hand. So can we say that is he really able to rock his collar? So here are the themes that he finds in this poem. If you read this poem, we clearly see that struggle his own belief. First, he says that I want to break this collar and I want to enjoy my life, but in the hand, he says that no, I don't want to broke this collar and I want to follow Jesus. What his will and what his heart says to him, he is confused between it, and his mind is on another part. Of course, in this poem, there is so many religious restrictions that he is a priest and he has so many duties to do. So can he broke his this collar, his priest duty to follow his own heart? No, because he is a priest and he has so many duties. So there are religious restriction that we also can relate, and what is that? We also can relate this in our life too, and we can experience that religious restriction. And he feels struggle for freedom. First, he want to free from his priest duty, and in last, he find his freedom under the service of Jesus. So here are my work citation of my images and information that I described in my presentation.
Yes, Pooja. Give the example of will or or heart according to you in this poem.
Example of will or heart. What we want to do or what our heart say. Mm, I don't think is there any example of about it, but this is a feeling that we always experience, that what our heart says to us, what our mind says to us, and what we want to do. There is not an example. Yes, of course, if we say example, then we can relate in our life that sometimes we feel that yes, what our heart says this do, and what our mind said no, this is not right. My heart is become foolish and tell me what I want to do, but mind is right. So there is a conflict between our mind, will, and heart. And
Why did George Herbert write the collar?
why did George Herbert write the Collar? He write this poem named Collar under the influence of God. He want to describe and say all of us, that what he has a relationship to the God, and between him. His soul is totally related to God, and that's why he wrote not this particular poem, the Collar, but his all a whole collection, the temple named. He described his relationship with God, and tell us how he feel about him, and if he service to the God, he got delight in under his hand also.